So my name's John Arthur. I'm really sorry I can't be along tonight. Just a wee bit, I'll give you a bit of background to myself and just what I'm going to talk about tonight. My experience in the drugs field has been, for the last 25 years, based predominantly in Edinburgh, and I've managed drugs agencies. I've set up drugs intervention projects across a number of different areas. I've advised local and national governments on drug policy, and so I've got a wee bit of experience there. Personally as well, I'm from Craigmillar, and a lot of drug use. I kind of grew up in the 60s and 70s using substances myself, and ended up as a problematic user with pretty strong addiction. And so I've been in recovery for 20 odd years, and I've worked around this field, so I've got a bit of background knowledge and skills. So just what I wanted to tell you tonight was a wee bit of my own experience. When I was growing up, there was kind of a handful of people that I knew that were using drugs, and then come the late 60s, early 70s, and there was a mass explosion of substance use, predominantly cannabis and heroin, and then in the 80s it kind of mushroomed again. So what we see is changing. There's not one drugs problem. There's really not. There's a number of different areas, people who use drugs problematically, for fun, for a whole range of different issues, and the majority of people who use are not problematic users. The majority of people who use are using for fun, to de-stress, in the same way that people use alcohol, and with roughly similar numbers in terms of people who become problematic users, whether that's alcohol or other substances, whether it's legal or illegal. So we've got a fair part of the population who are using substances without major problems, and who are just getting on with it. So what we've got is a number of different stratas. So people using drugs just to de-stress, people who use drugs to just go and have fun, to party. So there's a wide variety of different uses for drugs. And what's happened over the last 15 years has been a mass increase in the amount of manufactured drugs. So sometimes called legal highs, sometimes called other things. So we're talking about things like novel psychoactive substances. So what we're seeing constantly is a change in substance use right throughout society, and it's been really challenging to work with. And what we see is a lot of people getting into problems around their substance use. So personal problems, but also it's often exacerbated by involvement in criminal justice. So what we've seen is people who get picked up by the police, or who get charged or whatever, end up in jail. So what we see is that they tend to exacerbate whatever underlying problems there might be. So realistically, what we've got is a significant section of the society who are using legal and illegal substances to enjoy the intoxicating effects. So whether that be alcohol, cannabis, heroin, or ecstasy, or any of these substances, people are using them, and a lot of people are mixing them up as well. So they're using them, and they're using one to come down off the other, which has been going on forever, pretty much. So this is what's happening in Scotland at the moment. We've got this legal system of intoxicants such as alcohol, and increasingly mixed with other substances. So we have caffeine laced drinks, which are driving the use of alcohol higher. So it's not a stable thing. These things are changing all the time, and what we can see now is that the people who get caught up in law and order issues around it, so people who are getting charged, people who are getting taken to court, people who are going into jail, tend to be what the police themselves have called the low-hanging fruit. These are the people, the kind of end users who might be dealing a little amount in order to keep their own habits going. And what's happening is they're the ones that they're the easiest to catch. They're the ones that get served up by other people when they get caught, they get grassed and that kind of stuff. So what we see is that a lot of people are getting done for small amounts of substances. The people who are dealing lots really aren't getting caught for it. The reason I know some of this as well is that I've been working for around 12 years as an expert witness in the courts. So I've been to hundreds of cases. I've done reports for easily 200 cases. And what I've found from that is that we are spending an inordinate amount of money, public money, to prosecute cases of very small amounts of drugs. And it's really doing the society absolutely no good whatsoever. People who do end up in jails for drugs offences tend to end up coming out worse. You know, if they go in for cannabis, it's like the likelihood they might come out with a more intractable addiction. So that might be heroin, or it might be one of a number of other substances that are available in our jails and stuff at the moment. So what's going on? For me, you know, I ask that question when I'm spending hours and hours and hours in a court to go up for 50 quid's worth, you know, somebody's 50 quid's worth of the heroin, and I look at the costs around the court, the lawyers, the people, you know, prison officers, the judge, you know, the procurator fiscal, and it's keeping a whole swathe of our kind of middle classes almost in a job. You know, it's like, and there doesn't seem to be a willingness, even though people know that it's not working. You know, so there's absolutely no proof whatsoever that locking someone up for offences relating to drugs has any noticeable effect in terms of improvement. So very few people who have a drug habit or who are addicted to substances going into jail tends not to, it doesn't help. So again, you know, as a concerned citizen, as a concerned individual who has been through this whole kind of rigmarole, I keep asking myself, so who benefits from this? Because if it's quite clear, and I've spoke to ex-ministers for health, I've talked to ex-justice ministers, I've talked to a whole load of civil servants, none of whom believe that the current drugs policy is working. In terms of, you know, prohibition, it's simply not working. And what we've seen in other countries is that it's starting to, it's starting to work. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Look at the evidence from the other countries where it's working. Look at the evidence for continuing prohibition and who's getting harmed, who's getting caught up in all that, whether it's working or not. In actual fact, you know, there's very, very little evidence to show that the amount of drugs that are being interdicted by either the police or customs or borders or whatever is having any effect, because we're catching so little of it, and yet we're putting so much resources into trying to detect it, trying to lock people up, trying to, you know, and it's making a whole the situation a whole lot worse. So for me, I have to keep coming back to that question: is who's benefiting from it? If society is staying, and it's quite clearly wrong, and most of the ex-health ministers and even the justice ministers that I've spoken to said the same thing. They know it's not working. You know, any think tank that's been set up can see quite clearly, quite quickly, that we need to change. We need to look at what we need to do about drug policy reform, because it is broken, it's not working, and we're continuing to lock our citizens up who in the main need help, who need help quite drastically, because we're now going through the roof again with the amount of people that are dying as a result of drugs overdoses. So I hope the conference goes well, I hope the debate goes well, and once again I'm really sorry I can't come along tonight, but I wish you all the best, and hope it goes well tonight. Thank you. Cheers.